have some vodka. I drank some of that.
What? I did not know. I didn't know you were drinking. Jesus.
I
If
told
I
you I
would
was
have known
drinking
you
this
were,
stuff.
if I would have known your blood alcohol content was rising with the amount of time we took, I would have been faster. All right,
Come
well
on,
that's a
man.
perfect standard.
You're-
Welcome everybody to Save It for the Podcast, episode 1. I'm a dude. I go by Jax, and then my co-host is my man B, Boris,
Yeah,
Sloots
what's up?
DG, King, and
But
so yeah.
he's gonna be called Drop Zone by me. Just saying, get used to that.
We'll see. First order, we have to establish not chat. We're not streaming. This is a podcast. So
Not
listeners,
anymore.
if he calls me Drop Zone, you gotta let him know. Listen, we gotta set up the fan
will
base.
call
We
him
gotta
Drop Zone.
train him early. Make sure they know what's up. So anyway, I think the best way to start would be kind of explaining what this podcast, like what our plan is for this, and kind of how we want to structure this idea. Cause it's a podcast, two dudes talking. We're very good friends. We'll get into that a little later when we explain more about us. But I think the best way to start would be to kind of, okay. So I had this idea. The reason and the name is Save It for the Podcast. Now, I came with this originally because I've been planning. I wanted a podcast for a long time, but I've always kind of had. I've always been like, okay, how am I going to do it? What is it going to be? Am I going to do it by myself? Am I going to find a good co-host? And then obviously, because I'm friends with a goddamn god who's my boy over here, we decided to do it
Find a
together about a
master
week ago.
co-host.
But yeah, my original thinking about this was that like I was thinking because I listen to a bunch of podcasts because of what I do for work. So I always have headphones in my ears and I'm constantly listening to podcasts. So I've always, like, when you listen to podcasts, I think what naturally happens is you imagine yourself in the conversation. And you kind of think, because they're thinking about a topic and it's going in your ear, so you're going to be thinking about it too. So when I was talking to people about podcasts and I was trying to plan one, the thing that kept coming up was, whoa, this is a great topic. Let's save it for the podcast. And it kind of became, it was embodied this week. Because I told B about this idea last week of us doing this, and he has embodied that statement completely every single day.
Thank you
I
very
don't
much.
think we've had a day where we didn't come up with some podcast, which is when I knew you would be perfect because I told you about it, and it's been consistent that you've been coming up with ideas and topics, and it's been a topic of laughter for us all week. We gotta stop.
Podcast up, man.
We're getting too fucking deep. We gotta save it. So I think that I always thought that was really funny. And one thing, I mean, this is the first episode, so you guys, anyone listening, is privy to something kind of like this. Probably won't be the same in 20 episodes. Hopefully, we'll find our groove by then. We'll see. But I think a good thing to do would be to kind of
Good thing.
a
That's
good
so
thing.
weird.
Good thing. I've been hanging out with you
Are
too
you
long,
British?
bro.
What?
I've been hanging
I
around.
would say ting. I'm not a child. Chill out.
I'm tone switching for you, trying to sound more like you. But anyway, one thing I wanted to do was I think an interesting idea to do would be to almost kind of replicate what like a call-in show used to be on the radio. Where like I think one of the best things about a potential for this podcast would be if people, like, if you were thinking about something or you were listening to a podcast and you would have thought about a topic and you had a certain opinion on it, that you could also use this place as a kind of to make a listener be more involved and really be like, so you are a part of this podcast too. Like, it's not just going to be you tuning into us every week listening. Like, you could actually contribute to what we talk about and what we want to do. So I think a better way to explain that would be like, if you have a thought and you think it's interesting or entertaining, or you want to talk about it, you would want to talk about it with us. Like, you could record yourself and just send it in to us, or like follow us on any of our social medias, or even send it to us, and so we could play it and interact with that. And so you would be a part of this podcast too as a listener, not just us talking about certain topics every week. Like, you could actually dictate what you hear and what you want to talk about if you were so inclined. So I don't know. We'll work with that idea more. It's a really hard idea to explain, but it's basically like, if you have an idea, tell us about it, man. Like, if you were to have
just
an
tell
idea.
us anything. Nothing. Ain't nothing too stupid. We're
No,
two
no,
stupid
no.
people ourselves. So.
You want to talk about the impact of the porn industry on digital innovation? Like, we can. Like, the best thing about
that's
this
like
podcast.
a big topic. That I could kill that.
Oh shit! Why do you think it came to my head? I think about that
Save
shit
it for
all
the
the damn
podcast, man.
time. Save it for the podcast. We'll save it for a podcast, right?
Save it for the podcast, man.
So yeah, I think that's a rough estimate of what I was trying to say. You're gonna learn very fast that I sometimes have a hard time articulating things in a ease and quick manner. So we'll see how that
I would agree with
goes.
that statement.
But yeah, I don't know. So I think
I'm
really
the
quick.
articulate one. He's the laughy one.
Yeah,
That's a lie. I'm the laughy one as well.
The ADHD is strong with this one. So you know. So anyway,
I can't call you the laughy one because I've got the laugh. I've got the laugh.
Oh, I think I'm the cause of laughter, and I make you laugh. Oh man, so we'll see. Although it's again a smooth quality, easy transmission of going into talking about us and who we are, the hosts, the two kings.
Yep.
Save it for the podcast.
The two
family,
boys.
the heads of the
husbros.
family. All right, so I suppose I should introduce myself, and then we can kind of talk about some baseline interests and what we're about, and then maybe even how we met, and then get into that situation. Definitely got to talk about how that works, because I think the most interesting thing about us is like that we on paper shouldn't really work. Like, there's not a lot that's similar to each other about us. Like, we don't really click. It's not that we don't click, but like our fundamental interests are so different that like the fact that we can get together every time we get together and have a great fucking time and just click like almost no one I've ever met, to the point of what kind of conversations we have and how funny they get and how much we make each other just crack open with laughter. But yeah, so you maybe want to explain to people.
We physically crack each other open.
We crack each other open on a weekly basis, all the time,
bro. The time.
Every time we see each other.
If we didn't crack each other open, what's the point even?
Yeah, I know. Like you don't crack your friends open? What the fuck?
Exactly. Weirdos.
Yeah, I know. God. You think people? Anyway, whatever. We'll come back to that. You maybe want to tell people about yourself. Kind of say what you're up to.
Me first?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'm B, you can call me as. I'm also known less colloquially as Boris. That's my name. I've been chilling around video games for most of my life, to be honest. I think as far back as I can remember, I've been playing video games. I'm not that old, as you might be able to tell by my voice. I'm 17, so don't expect me to be talking about no GameCubes out here. My first games console was a PS2. Moving on to the 360 later on.
Yes. Console wars already.
What else? Console wars. Yo, the 360 was like superior to the PS2.
Okay.
The PS2 was like... It was vastly superior than the Xbox original, just saying. Like, the Xbox original was hot trash compared to PS2. Anyway, to video games, I guess. I started off playing Halo and a little bit Call of Duty on the side. Halo was where I really developed my passion for video games, though. It was the first video game I beat was Halo 3. I put a lot of time into Halo 3. Where I got a lot of my Halo status as a player, where I got my old gamer tag of Halo Bros from as well. Me and my boy used to play together, and we were the Halo Bros. Kind of cheesy, but alarming.
Hey, children.
What?
Nothing. You were a child.
What, man?
That's expected.
All right, I was a child. I was like, how old was I when I played Halo 3?
I can tell you some. Old gamer tags.
Jeez, Halo 3 was what, 2007 Halo 3 came out. I was 6 when that came out. Fuck me. I didn't play until I was about like 9 now. I played Halo 3 when Halo Reach was out. That was in 2010. So yeah, I was 9.
Okay.
I started playing Call of Duty. I played a lot of Zombies. Zombies is still the only thing that's good about Call of Duty in the modern era. All the Treyarch games I still play. Anything but that, I'm fine. No, thank you. Um, Naturally, my love of Halo became a love into Destiny in 2014. I don't know if you know this about me, but drop zone, drop zone. I don't know if you know this about me, but I
Already
actually
setting
didn't
it
know.
off right. Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that Destiny was coming out until a week before launch. I
Ooh.
didn't watch any trailers or anything. I found out about Destiny literally a week before launch, and I bought it on day one. And the first week it was out, I had like a day game time into it, which is not like the 3 days game time I had in the first week of Destiny 2, but it was a lot for me at the time, as I wasn't like such a hardcore gamer. Whilst Halo made me the gamer I am today by the fact that it made me love video games, Destiny 1 is the game where I really found my stride in multiplayer. It was the first multiplayer game that I played extensively. Eventually, I played it so much that I was, became really sweaty. I started playing against really good players. I eventually got into top 500s in the world on Xbox for Rumble. That's still one of my favorite memories of Destiny 1.
Oh, I
Uh,
see.
but in Destiny, that's where I had my other good memory of Destiny 1, meeting this gentleman right here with me, Mr. Drop Zone.
Captain your boy, XD, DG lifestyle for the win. Brand recognition, king
I
shit.
guess
It's
I guess
dead
that's a
now.
good segue for your introduction, how you got into Destiny, I guess.
Oh yeah. So really quick, by the way, I want to do some like. Do you just want to do like 3 or 4 big interests for you, just so people can kind of
Yeah.
like expect what you're about overall?
Well, I am very into a lot of things.
Nice.
Nah, there's a few things which I'm really knowledgeable about. One of them is video games. All the video games I mentioned before, and a few others I have an extensive knowledge of due to the vastly too much time I have into them and my fascination to the lore and universes of a few video games. So if we're talking about lore of Halo or not Call of Duty, Halo or Destiny, definitely I'll be talking about the lore about that a bit. Besides that, my other main interest is music. I like quite a wide range of music, to be fair. But what I'll be talking about if we ever talk about music mostly is hip hop. I've listened to hip hop for a while. Around the same time, I got into gaming because, like I said, 2010 was when I really got into gaming. Really, that was also the same year that I listened to my first rap album in its entirety. That was Kanye West's "My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy." Still one of my favorite albums of all time, and I think it's Kanye West's best album as well. And finally, we're going to be talking probably less, but I'll still mention them occasionally. I'm really into shoes as well. I collect shoes pretty avidly now. I've got more pairs of shoes than I have t-shirts, so that'll tell you about me.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose I'll get into me. I go by Jax on the internet, pretty much everywhere now. My name is Jackson, so it's pretty easy. Spelled uniquely, which I'm actually happy for, because it makes a dope ass spelling. So I go by Jax pretty much. I suppose I'll probably do the same way B just did, where I'll talk about kind of because video games, I will say, are probably going to be they're going to be staple in our topics because they're such a big part of like they're the reason we're here right now. Like they're the reason we're here. They've been a big impact. They're something we've always done a lot, which kind of transitioned into this. Um, I suppose I'll probably follow the same way you did. My first like proper love game was Skyrim. That's how I started when I was a kid. Like that's my first game where like I solidified that was what I really like doing. And that was something I really enjoyed was Skyrim. I played the shit out of that. And I was kind of around. I'm a little bit older than Boris is. I'm 19 right now. Gonna be 20 here soon. So I'm a little bit older. I'm from America, by the way. I don't know if you mentioned where you're from. But Boris is originally from Poland, but he's in the UK now. So just for some
Gang,
context
gang,
there.
gang.
But so yeah, I started with Skyrim and then I moved around. I mean, I played other shooters because like friends were super into Black Ops and quickscope lobbies and all that
Black Ops is one of the best games of all time. Just saying.
Gay shit, sniping lobbies and
Chat,
zombies.
chat
and...
shit about Black Ops. I'll
No,
fucking
I
beat
love
the shit
zombies
out.
when I was a kid. I played the shit out of that. I played the shit out of zombies when I was a kid. That's
Call of
the
Duty Black Ops is
similarity.
a fucking classic.
But yeah, so I started playing that, and I kind of went around every once in a while. And I actually, Halo is a big game for me too. My first proper Halo game that I was allowed to play was Halo
Lol.
Wars.
Allowed to play?
Halo Wars
Nah.
was my first game my Halo
I'm
game
not
I was
into that.
allowed to play. And Halo Reach was my first like proper Halo game that was mine, that I bought, that I was allowed to play. But my first Halo experience was just something we share, which is very different. My dad was out of town, and I was like 8 or 9, and so I would wait for my mom to leave, sneak downstairs to our Xbox, and play Halo. But I didn't know anything about anything about video games. So I just played the last mission over and over because it's all I could figure out how to play. Because I was so young, I'd go into like private lobbies and just run around by myself, and I couldn't figure anything out. So I just played the last mission over and over, and they found out and they punished me. So I was grounded for like 2 weeks. Because I played Halo. So yeah, that was my Halo experience, and then Halo was always was more multiplayer, and then I got into Destiny, which my story was very different than yours. I found about Destiny super early, and I got balls deep. Like, it sounded like what was perfection for me. And just like, I watched more console lore videos every week. That was the shit. New leaks, new information. I joined a clan like 6 months before Destiny even came out, called the False Gods. Shout out to the False Gods who might still listen to this. But yeah, so I got super into that, and I met people who I'm still friends with to this day, like 5 years later. And that got me really into Destiny, being a part. I think that really helped me with Destiny. It's because I was in a group of people who played a lot, despite everything. Like, just a group of people who were super into it, and I always had people to play with. I think that's a big reason I still played Destiny, and I kept with it. And then that eventually turned into GG, and that eventually turned into partnering up with you boy here that I'm talking to right now. So, and Destiny is the first game where, like, I think non-cheesily, I'm not exaggerating this. I'm not making this up. Destiny 2, or Destiny, not Destiny 2. Jesus Christ, Destiny originally, like, I would not be where I am in my life right now without that game. Like, legitimately,
definitely, I agree.
There are ties to that game that have completely altered the course of my life and changed it.
If you have 4 months game time in anything, then that's definitely life change.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've like 123 days of my life spent playing Destiny. Like, not days, I played it like full days of time playing that game.
We have about the same game time.
Yeah, we're pretty close and have the same relationship, and so that game really solidified it. Which I will say early off, Destiny, we'll probably start talking about Destiny a little bit later. We'll move into that a little bit later, but
more in depth.
That's gonna be around. That's just gonna be around forewarning. Like, that's gonna be something we're gonna talk about, especially right now, because we're getting into it hot. Like, for Destiny wise, some people may not know, but like, there's a new thing coming out in 2 weeks that is set to change the course of the game, pretty much. So we'll get into Destiny a little bit later. Hopefully, explain that a little bit better. But that is, if you know what Destiny is, that is the main game. And that is the reason we're here today, honestly. Without Destiny, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't be here talking. We wouldn't be bros. So maybe I want to hear from your perspective. Do you want to tell the story of how we met?
Yeah, sure.
Get into that.
Well, I was a young chap. I was 15 when we met. I was just casually playing some Destiny. It was the weekend. It was in the middle of my holidays off school. And I was looking for some people to play with, playing some Trials of Osiris, which was a competitive game mode in Destiny 1, and it used to be competitive in Destiny 2, but let's not get into that just yet. So I was looking for a team, and I stumbled upon a post by this individual talking with me, and I messaged him. I'm like, yo, let's play some video games. And he was like, cool, I'll invite you. So then we started playing some video games. So we played a few matches together. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was us and someone else. I actually didn't know how much I was gonna like talking with my man Jax over here. I had some rough first impressions. I still don't know why, to be honest. Now that I know more, but we played some more, and eventually we got together again and again. Played some more video games, and eventually I'm like, "Yo, do you want to like allow me into your clan?" And he went, "Yeah." Then we played more and more, and that's pretty much how we met.
Yeah. And then from like my perspective, at the time, it was big. Destiny was really playable for us. We had a YouTube channel about it. We were doing like these like montage style like clips, and so we were recruiting too because it was a little bit small at the time. So we were looking for more people at the time. Me and Mosey was the other guy we were playing with. And so we were really just trying to carry people because one of our main thing was Trials of Osiris was a competitive game mode, and so it was kind of hard to win. It was just play a bunch of games, and if you won a certain amount, basically you got to the victory prize. And then so that was a big
The
staple
victory
of
prize.
the victory prize, bro. So
I love
basically
me some victory
that was a
prizes.
heavily sought after thing, and that's kind of how we did subs too originally, because we would get clips while we were playing, and then we would help people get to the victory, because that was a big deal in Destiny 1. Like getting to the lighthouse, which was the epitome place which you could only go to if you won, was a big deal. So it was a really great way to meet people and get subscribers too, in addition to getting clips. And
Yeah.
so I got a message from Halo Bros 100, and I went, "Oh,
God.
okay." So like this guy kind of looks this from like because we were super judgy. Like, hey, this kid looks not terrible. His stats aren't they're good. So let's message him and see. And we heard this little British kid. Cause I mean it's only little because like you were 2 years younger than us, but the way
Yeah.
the way you talked and you were kind of somber at the time because obviously we didn't know each other.
Mm.
It's like you were a little soft,
Yeah.
and then we played, and you were this savage. You had like one of the best cards of your life. You have, I mean,
Mm.
do you hit like one of your nastiest clips of Xbox on
Yeah,
during that
it
card?
was disgusting. Like, it's the only clip I still have saved on Xboxes. Is the clip from Destiny 1 where I just melted some kids on the Firebase Delphi with a few quick scopes of quickness, and it was nasty.
Yeah, and you were shredding it up, and me and Mosey were fucking astonished. So we were like, yo, this kid's really cool and stuff. And so we started playing together, and then we just got more and more because we were interested in you from the first card about inviting you, but obviously we wanted to wait a little bit. We didn't just want to hit you with the jump. So we played together and more, and we just I don't know. Ever since then, we've always clicked for whatever reason. Like I said, I don't know. Like I definitely get that. Like I didn't know how it was gonna feel because on paper we shouldn't really have the quality of conversation
Yeah.
that we have. Like we shouldn't be as
The
good
sort
of
of
friends as
right-winged
we are.
Americans.
Yeah. Hey, whoa, hey! Don't just set that precipice from the jump. By the way, that's not true. I resent that. I don't think I don't think that fits me very well. But anyway, jump back in. God damn it! This alt-right Nazi that I'm friends with.
This fucking racist.
This racist white kid from Nebraska. Oh my god, no. No, that's not true at all.
Fucking Alabama looking at it. I'm sorry to stay in Alabama.
So anyway, yeah, we've always just clicked for whatever reason, and it's always been such a great level of talk conversation that we've been able to have together. So it seemed like a natural fit when we were able to talk again that podcast had to happen. It had to. We clicked too well for it not to be exposed. So I think that sums us up pretty well. Covers the meeting point.
Well, what about you? Tell me 3 things about yourself that you consider yourself an expert on.
3 passing things. Video games, obviously, we kind of covered that because that's a big part of both of us. For things, I suppose I'm kind of into weight. Like I'm not super into it, but like I've always been really into physical fitness, like working out and stuff like that. That's been a big staple. Like actually, right now I was sick, and then I've just come off because I haven't worked out in 2 weeks, and it's the longest break I've ever taken since I was 16 from working out. Like I've never been able to do it because it's been something that I've really been addicted to for a long time. So that's something I really like talking about. I'm super into it. I was gonna go to college for that, so that could be my profession. And I suppose another thing, as far as entertainment wise, I like I like watching movies. Like I've always liked watching like movies and stuff and thinking about that. And then that naturally led into anime, which I'm actually really
Does it?
I'm uncomfortably into anime. Like I was so utterly against it when I was younger. Like 2 years ago, I would have never listened to that. I thought it was weeb shit. It was weird sexual shit. And then I started watching Dragon Ball because I was like, okay, well, it's not fair if I just think this way. I should really give it a shot. And Dragon Ball was a big name I heard all the time, and everyone like it was big and being in the fitness community and seeing that on Instagram and stuff. Dragon Ball naturally has a really good, just because of how people are drawn and what it's about. It had a really good connection to the fitness culture and stuff like that. And so I started watching that, and then that naturally led into to the point where I'm at now, where I don't have anything I can watch. I've watched pretty much every shonen in history that's worth watching, even some that aren't worth watching, to the point where I don't know what to do anymore, and it's starting to freak me out. So yeah, anime is a super big topic for me. I know a lot of it. And again, it's like it shows to like because we're really different because Boris isn't jacked and doesn't watch anime, and those are the two biggest things
Nice.
about me.
That is definitely a good way of saying it.
Not jacked.
I haven't actually,
Small.
unlike you. Wow. Unlike
No,
you,
fuck
I've done
around.
the opposite. No, it kind of answers me fine. I'm actually like, I'm just average. That's all I have to say about myself. Like, I'm the opposite of you. Like, I went to the gym for like the tail end of last year, but then I haven't gone in like a year.
Damn. Yeah.
Because like I
Damn.
cancelled my membership because school was just like too much effort. Because I walk an hour to school and an hour back from school, so I can't be asked to get to the gym afterwards.
Oh yeah. That makes sense. So I guess that kind of gives a baseline about us. Obviously, you'll learn more about us if you keep if we're entertaining enough to keep your ears entertained. Whoa, that was a weird ass way to put that. Okay, we're just gonna
That
move
was
on
a
from
very
that.
weird to put.
So anyway, I suppose I want to get it out of the way because I think a main thing, like we said earlier, Destiny's a big part. It's the reason why we're friends. It's something we still do. We do a lot, and we've played and have a long history of. Because I mean, like you said, you play something for 3 months, literally 3 months of your life. 24 hours a day was spent in time with Destiny. Like, I think we should talk about it right now because it's in a really interesting spot, and it has been over the last year. And so I think breaking that down for people, so if we do end up talking about it again, that they can know. I think that's really important. So, Boris, how do you feel about Destiny 2?
Now.
Huh? How do you feel about Destiny 2? Go ahead.
That was
go ahead.
weird. That was really weird.
Let's get weird, bro.
Well,
we're officially starting.
Nah,
Got the introductions out of the way. Now it's time to
well,
get meaty.
Well, unlike Destiny 1, in which I was an avid player throughout its whole life cycle, even during the constant content droughts, I actually have only just returned to playing Destiny 2 because I did not enjoy what Destiny 2 had to offer for about 5 months now, probably. Ever since I played DLC 1 a little bit, and I haven't played it since until like last week. I hadn't played it since DLC 1 dropped in January.
You're welcome.
So, but yeah, I think personally, when Destiny 2 came out, I was really excited. I was mad excited. I was like, it's a sequel to my favorite game of all time, you know. So I played it. I had, like I said before, I think I had 3 days game time in the first week of its launch, which is like kind of like ridiculous and unhealthy, but I was like gassed.
Yeah. Hey, same. Played the shit out of that.
So I played it. I had like a month game time probably by like December or something. That's probably about right, around about right. Um, and then it just kind of after you did all the content, which was pretty scarce to be fair, there wasn't that much to do if you really like. It seemed like a lot to do, but if you played so much like me, it really wasn't. So I finished a lot of the content quite quickly, and then I just got bored because I had all the gear due to the lack of random weapon rolls, which was just a crazy choice for me. Like, since it was such a major part of the first game, having no random weapons in this game was really weird. So then I was out of the loop for so long, but I've only just returned due to the new DLC, which, for me at least, seems to try and introduce everything that I think should have been the launch of Destiny 2. Yeah, that's my side of the story. Well, as my boy Jax, he's somehow, God knows how, stuck through with Destiny 2,
I mean,
even though
kinda. We'll see. I think more than you, but I mean,
definitely more
my
than me.
my story was kind of the same. Cause like when it first came out, I set a new record for not sleeping for myself. Cause I couldn't afford to miss work because I had a new job, and it's a construction job.
Yeah,
So it was eight. It was like 8 hours a day of construction work, and I woke up on Tuesday, went to work, came home, played all night and all day from 4 to like 8 in the next day of Destiny 2. Then I went back to work. Then I came home, slept 4 hours, and then played until work again and played a full day. And that's when that third day, after that third day of work, that's when I finally slept. Like proper. Like I didn't take a nap. I slept for the first time. So that was a record for me of like in 3 days I stayed awake 68 hours, which was an interesting
I remember
experience.
that 100 hour stay up I did in Destiny 1. That was lit.
Oh my god. But yeah, so
That's a different story for a different day.
that doesn't say a little bit about what Destiny 2, the level that Destiny 2 was at, was supposed to be. I don't know what will.
Yeah, that was Destiny 2 at launch.
Yeah, Destiny 2
that
launch.
was the
I mean,
hopes and
Destiny
dreams.
2's launch was really good.
It was
It
a
was,
really good launch.
yeah.
Actually, we didn't play at launch, did we? Because it was a rolling launch. So I had it 6 hours before you.
Oh yeah. You played it before me. Yeah. And I had to go to work
I
too.
like
So
6 or 7 hours before you. So by the time
God,
you started playing, I had a level 20 character by the time you started playing.
yeah. Did I fucking stay awake before I went to work to play Destiny 2? Whoa, holy shit. I just fucking, you just fucking hit something for me. I'm like, did I stay up Monday and play that? That adds some hours to my day. But anyway, that's not important. That's not important, really. It's just my personal record. But whatever.
Yeah.
Um.
But yeah, so
So I suppose.
now with Forsaken coming out, the newest DLC, we're
Oh
back.
wait,
We're gonna see if it's good.
We didn't talk about how shitty Destiny 2 was. We kind of just painted a really
Destiny 2 was really shit. It was really depressing and bad, and there was no content, and then the gameplay wasn't fun, which is why I stopped playing. Because in Destiny 1 there wasn't a lot of content, but at least it was fun, and because it was fun, I carried on playing despite the lack of content. But because Destiny 2 wasn't that fun gameplay wise, because the weapon system was bad, and there was no random weapon rules, and everything was really bad, I stopped playing. But now they're trying to fix that with Forsaken, and it looks looks good.
You ever watched the end of a commercial and heard people talk really fast? You should do that.
Yeah.
It should be a career for you.
It's not my job.
Fast talker, yeah, like fucking auctioneer.
Fast talking.
Yeah,
It's
so
a fat
basically,
job.
slight like minute explanation. First month of Destiny 2 was really good. Then everyone realized that there was nothing else to the game. Bungie had no real plan. They took a lot of the best things about Destiny and changed them for some reason. The community was, oh god, how do I put this? Toxic as all balls. Everyone was upset. Die-hard people who had stayed there for 3 years and played nothing but Destiny left, and a few of them have never come back.
That's me.
But it's like people stopped playing, they couldn't do it. It was so unhealthy to play, and no one watched it that they couldn't even do it. Everyone was upset. The difference between the community and the game developer Bungie was so bad that they had to like basically hit a reset, and they
Yeah, they're basically
sales were
soft reset
terrible.
the whole everything now.
First DLC was biggest disappointment in the history of the game. Just it set a really bad taste in people's mouths. So it's been this big redemption story as of late, because we've got like every complaint that anybody had basically has been addressed for this next DLC, and it's like it's the hopes and dreams of a community which has been actually really successful in the long run. If you look at like watch time and play time and money, it's been really successful. So you've got like literally millions of people riding on the hopes of a $40 DLC in 2 weeks. So it's kind of a big deal if you're not caught up to speed. But yes, I think that gets through Destiny fairly well. Kind of explains like where we're at right now and why it's going to be talked about for the next maybe three weeks or so. It'll probably be on a few podcasts from here on.
It'll creep up pretty much on every podcast, probably. Let's be honest. If something new comes out in Destiny, we'll talk about it.
It's gonna be kind of like experiences for that. It's gonna be a big thing, but it won't be the only thing. That's what I really want to precipice. Like, I'm just getting it out of the way because it will be something we're talking about.
We'll be talking about a bunch of different topics, like. Probably at some point, if there's any current events happening, we might talk about that. But for the most part, if we talk, it'll just be random topics that you come up with, and/or topics that you tell us to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you never know how much we'll see. New shoes come out, Boris can get in. Some new episode hits.
There's always some new shoes coming out, man. I can't keep up. Like,
new music.
Like. This year has actually been like the best year for music in like at least 7 years. Like this year was insane. Like every single artist, which is big in hip hop, pretty much released an album. It was mad.
Yeah. You just want to jump. Hey, yeah. So next topic. You just want to jump into music right off the bat because I have something I want to tell people.
Jump into music.
Like that I did not know about you.
If you're brewing, let's go.
I did not know. Okay, so I did not know this about B last week, like up until last week. So I told him about the pot. He was drunk, and we were talking, having a normal, typical conversation for us, which involved a lot of, a lot of laughter, and a lot of just fucking around. And so it hit me that I've been thinking about this podcast for the last few weeks in particular. Like I was trying to figure out, like, should I just do it by myself and try and do it that way and figure it out? But so I hit him up and I told him about it, and he was like, you were surprisingly down. I thought you were gonna have like questions and be like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess, why not? But like you were super into the idea, and I don't even know how we got on the topic, but you started somehow down the rabbit hole of music, and you broke down music and hip hop in particular in a way that I have literally never heard it broken down before. As like going from each individual artist, talking about what the meaning of the album is as a whole, and explaining how your process for dissecting music is and how you see it in a different way, in a way that I did not expect from a 17-year-old Polish kid who is white as a new mattress. God damn.
Whoa.
Like,
race doesn't matter anymore, man.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, it breaks such that rule as like, I would have never expected it out of you, and it's something I didn't know about you until you changed the way I saw music forever. In a drunken stupor. I'm not kidding. This entire week, I've been listening to music that I thought was good and analyzing albums. And like thinking about the overall message of what they're trying to say and how it's structured. Like, I never did that before. And so I kind of want to like get you into that so you can share it with the people and kind of even touch on what you did last week.
Well, it depends what you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about strictly one artist? Do you want to talk about music as a whole? Do you want to talk about rap? What are we talking about, bro?
Well, I think we should start with rap because I think that's obviously your wheelhouse and your expertise. Because you turned me on to Pusha T's album, which is really good. But
Pusha T's album was really good.
2 days ago, I listened to Kids See Ghost and like fully listened to the full thing.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, that is Kanye West and Kid Cudi's partner album, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, duo
Which is
album.
so weird because when I first heard about it, like I didn't know for sure because I knew their album was coming out, and I was always a big Kid Cudi fan, and I was like a passive Kanye fan. But like I said, I did not see
Yeah,
music in the way I do now because I'm a boy.
yeah.
But like and then so you first heard it, and it was kind of like off the jump when you listen to it, you're like, okay, this is really weird. Like you don't really get it to a certain point. Like my
You
first
share
time
your
listening through,
experience first, and I'll tell you. I'll tell you about my experience afterwards.
yeah, because you're obviously gonna be the like person I'm talking to
Yeah,
about. But like my experience was basically like, okay, this kind of weird. I like the vibe of some songs, but I really don't get it. Like it
mm,
wasn't for me, so I
yeah,
haven't really listened to it. But I listened to it again, and I thought about the way you talked about it, and I think I get it. But I want to hear you break it down for me to see if I'm on base.
yeah. All right. Well, I was fucking excited for that album. I can't even describe it to you. Like I said, a lot of artists dropped tracks and albums this year. Like it was insane. Like I'm kind of in the middle. I was born into a generation which likes rappers I consider terrible. I was born in a generation which likes mumble rap and artists like Lil Pump and shit like that, which have some merit, I guess, but not merit in the way I like rap music. So I'm like in between. I wasn't there when the old school rappers were around, fucking NWA and stuff like that. I like them, but I wasn't there for it. So
Oh,
the
hey,
middle ground
really
I
quick,
have.
really quick,
Mm.
off super off base, but you said it. I really like NWA. I don't know why. I have no reason
NWA
to,
is really good.
but like,
The first real rap group that embodied the gangster rap genre.
yeah. But I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I just off base, like you said that, and I really like their album in particular, and it's like I have no reason to. It doesn't relate to me at all, but I still really enjoy listening to it, like the whole thing.
yeah,
I don't know why.
yeah.
But
NWA
anyway,
is really good.
continue.
So yeah, I was born in this middle ground where there's a really small range of rappers which I can enjoy right now, which is still releasing music. So my top five rappers right now, I think Kanye, J. Cole, Kendrick, probably I don't even know who to put next. Probably Jay-Z still. He still makes good albums. And I would have said Eminem probably if not for his last album, which was a pile of fucking trash. But we'll probably get to that another day. So Kid Cudi probably replaces Eminem in that spot just because of his last album. So you can imagine that once Kanye West started tweeting again after like 2 year absence, he started tweeting about his albums and all the albums that are coming out. And we had already had a J. Cole album this year, which was amazing. And then Kanye's like, I'm making my own album. That was the first thing he tweeted. He's like, I'm releasing my album. I'm like, all right, that's fucking dope. I can't wait. And then he said, him and Kid Cudi releasing a fucking album. And I was like, yo, this is insane. These are like the
Same.
two most influential artists in rap in the last 20 years. Like, Kanye West single handedly has changed the rap genre about 7 times now. And Kid Cudi has spawned every modern day rapper with his inclusion of his personal feelings and ideas of depression in his own music. So with Kanye West going through depression, and he was sent to hospital like in like 2016 after he broke down on his tour for the life of Pablo, and he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he's struggling with mental issues and stuff. So obviously that was a main focus of their album.
Didn't
So
didn't his like
yeah,
mom die or something, and that really fucked him up?
yeah. In
I don't know.
2008, Kanye's mom died, and he also got. I don't think he got divorced. I think he broke an engagement with his fiance, and that came about with the release of 808s and Heartbreak, which was his fourth album. Yeah, that's right. So he dropped that, and it was just so tonally different to his last album because Graduation came before then, and Graduation was uplifting and kind of poppy in its electrical bass line and lack of real like musical instruments. Instead, it was like synths and stuff. And then it all changed. The title of the album is 808s and Heartbreak, so there was a lot of 808s, which is like really deep and heavy, like just sounds which are just kind of alien. And then he mixed that with deep and passionate lyrics in an album which was basically all about his feelings of loss and depression, kind of. And the album was like really poorly received by critics and a lot of people as well, just because tonally it wasn't that era of rap yet. But now, if that album came out today, it would be an instant fucking smasher, instant classic, because that's the point where that style of rap, where you can actually talk about your feelings, and the whole album didn't have a single like swear word on it, which for rap at the time, even now, is insane to have a rap
now
album without
that's
any swearing on it. Exactly. So that album itself spawned Kid Cudi's album in 2009, Man on the Moon, which which is considered his best album, to be honest. Like his first album was amazing because Kanye produced like a little bit of it as well. So then now they come together, right? And they've both gone through depression, they've gone through mental struggles, they've gone through loss. And then Kids See Ghosts is an embodiment of that, but at the same time, it's them getting over their problems, right? Like the longest song on the album is Reborn, and it's mostly Kid Cudi humming for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And Kid Cudi's hum is like meditation, right? It's orgasmic, like listening to Kid Cudi hum. Like there's just something about it. Like it's just so peaceful. And the lyrics in that song all talk about how they overcame their depression stuff, how they're killing their demons, right? How they've gone past their problems of the past, and that's the whole vibe of the album, right? It's very experimental, it's very different. That's what Kanye's known for, right? He's not known for he goes against the grain all the time.
Yeah.
Even the album being 7 tracks long, that's against the grain. He put out 5 7 track albums in a row, right? And in a time where most artists have 14 track albums and to try and get the most sales. And to this day, he still holds the fact that every album he's released was #1 on the Billboard Top 200, and they're all ridiculously different albums. Like none of them sound the same, which just shows how he can take any sound he wants and make it into an album, and it'll sell well. The only album of his that didn't get #1 on Billboard Top 200 was Kids See Ghosts, which in my eyes, is a 10 out of 10. But the reason it didn't get top #1 was because his previous album was still there. Ye was still #1. So he literally, it was impossible for him to get because he already had it with his other album. So it was mental.
Yeah.
No. Kids See Ghosts is basically, to me, it's an amalgamation of all the dark thoughts that Kid Cudi and Kanye West have, and is rejecting them and starting anew. I see it.
Yeah. Because you can definitely get when you hear it, like, that's not something you turn on the way to the gym, or if you're trying to go. Like, you're trying to blaze up and go, which is big in this, like, how it makes you feel, and how most people want to feel is jacked up and, like, I can take on the world, fuck all you, which is a big thing for a lot of, like, current rap. Like, that's a lot of strengths of mumble rap, is it's, like, something you and your boys would play in the car while you're going to, like, party, or you're going to do, like, gym or something, or you're trying to get just amped up. Which is not that album at all. Like, aside from maybe Feel the Love, because it's just, there's something about that sound.
I think the Kids See Ghosts, the song itself on the album, I think that's a gem. I think you can jump to that.
Like, but like, even like
But
Reborn, like, which is the most popular song for that album, it's like, that's not it.
Yeah. Yeah,
like, that's
definitely
not. The song
it's not a party
jam.
track.
Yeah.
But
Like,
see,
that's not coming on at a party or in a club.
Exactly, but that itself, the fact that you just said that is literally the embodiment of Kanye West, right? Because he's got this smash album right now, which has a song like that, but also he's known around the world for his like hits, like even his first album straight away had Jesus Walks, All Falls Down. It had things like they're still popular now that resonate with people, and every album, like, he just had club bangers.
Oh yeah. Pick
And
one.
in the last two he kind of didn't, and that was what was interesting about them. They were a lot more personal albums. That's why some people didn't receive him as well, because much like J. Cole's For Your Eyes Only in 2016, it wasn't really an album to jam to. It was a personal album, which showed Kanye West as a person more than an artist, where it was kind of something he did for himself, just like calling the album Ye after himself. And also, he claims that he also called it because it's the most common word in the Bible. That's another reason he says he called it Ye. Um, just the fact that he called it that shows that it's his progress, right? It's about how he's overcome the changes in his life. It's not strictly about the music and just having a fun time and just partying. Yeah.
Well, Professor, God, you know we've been live like 40 minutes.
Yeah. I'm not
Like,
surprised. I
we
can get
just
really
been
deep into Kanye.
rolling. Damn, I lost. Like, I've been sitting at the home screen in the tower this whole time. Like, I haven't done anything.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, damn, that's a hard. God, we keep start off with a banger. With a banger, you gotta follow that. So I think that's a decent. Well, actually, I kind of want to talk about like how that's changed. Like, because you basically broke that down over every artist last week when I told you about the podcast
Yeah.
originally. So it really made me like look at albums differently. And right now, like for me for music, like I really move around a lot. Like I've probably like I don't really like a genre. I like certain parts of a genre, and I'll move that around every few months or so. So literally no music is off limits for me. Which I think because right now I got really into rock, which I used to be really into rock when I was a kid, because like that's what I came up with. Like that's what my dad listened to, so that's what I was around, and so that's what I got into. And I've really gotten more into like a little bit deeper, heavier rock, not like death metal. That's the one thing I've never gotten into. Because I don't know, I can't. That's like SoundCloud rappers right now. Like it's just something I don't vibe with for whatever reason, and I don't know if I ever will. It's just not the sound I enjoy. But anyway, like so I've been kind of getting into like rock, like real rock, like genuine like guitars, and not going super hard, but it depends. Like anywhere from like Daughtry to Avenged Sevenfold, anywhere in there, that's pretty much where I've been hanging out. So like I was examining some rock songs I listened to, and I think like I found two albums that like if I wanted you to listen to something, the two albums I would listen to are 1X by 3 Days Grace, and then another album which is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite bands like ever. Like a band I've always loved is Papa Roach, and their new album Crooked Teeth is really fucking good. Like I think as an album, like the connection was really good, and that's an album I really listened to a lot. Even though I wasn't looking at music the same way, it's an album I really listened to, and I listened to a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
But I think like the themes and overall structure of those two albums are really well done. And like you don't see it originally, but when you start thinking about it, you start getting it. Is because when I listen to 1X, you realize it's really a overall structure of like a really tragic event and how that can shape you. And it's really themed around like even the cover art. If you see it, it's 7 stick figures, and they all have X's on them, except one has a check mark. So it's really about rejection of who someone is, and getting over that and dealing with that. Because it's rock, it's very like feelings and darkness focused a lot of the time. Because that's just what vibes with that crew. And so you deal with that, and then you jump over to Papa Roach. And the songs are really good too. Like the way the songs are structured and written, like that sound is so unique and different that it's like even like the rock songs, when they go from rock to normal to basic, like you can still stick with it. Never Too Late is by 3 Days Grace, one of the best rock songs ever. Like I love that fucking song.
Well, I'm glad that you spoke about albums specifically because I mentioned to you this before, but I think I listen specifically to albums rather than individual songs. If I hear a new song has come out over, I'll listen to it, but I'm always more hyped for albums. And obviously, there's more songs, so you'd be more hyped for an album most of the time. But I think albums they always have their own vibe, and listening to one song of the album, you can miss a lot of things. For example, J. Cole's new album, not even there, it's new anymore, came out in April. But that's another side, that's beside the point. J. Cole's album, KOD, it has the theme of letting go of your demons, stopping drug habits, and just finding yourself in the midst of all this shit. Uh, and there's two songs on there which come after one another. The first one's called ATM, which is probably the most popular song of the album. And then there's Motivate. And the two songs they complement each other very well because they come after one another. ATM is kind of a parody of modern rap music where it's got a trap beat to it and it's got J. Cole speaking about money and it's all about monetary wealth and stuff. And but it's all ironic because he speaks some real shit as well about how money's not everything and stuff like that. But then the next track is called Motivate, and it's got the exact same beat almost, and it's got the same flow, and it's got the same style. And from that, you can interpret that he's motivated by money, because the song's called Motivate, and the last song was about money, and they're almost exactly the same. So it's just niches like that which you don't get from like listening to just one song.
Yeah. Which was very me, by the way. Like, I was very, like, I like certain songs, not certain people. Like, so I'll listen to, like, a song by someone, and then I wouldn't touch the rest of it, or I'd listen to it passively, and if it didn't sound like that one song,
Yeah.
it would be weird to me. So there's
Mm.
very few albums that actually did that for me. But I do want to go into Papa Roach's album a little different later, because it is a little bit different from 3 Days Grace, but I want to stay on 1X for a little bit. So the I think it's really cool what they did because if you look at the songs, basically the songs for 3 Days Grace, they're pretty emo band. Like especially back like they have a new singer now, which I don't really vibe with. But anything from
Right.
the old singer, they from the old lead, it's like the songs they really are about like being like messed up and fucked up. And so the symbolism on the album is fucking nuts. Okay, so like I said earlier, there's it's a background with a little red splatter at the top, and then it's
Yeah.
seven white stick figures across each other, and there's seven of them, and there's six check marks on each one, and there's one X on one of the guys.
Yeah.
And there's 12 albums on the song, and each one of them deals with a stage of God, what was it? I thought about this earlier. I think it's a stage of distress.
Depression.
I'm trying to think. God, I had it. Damn it! It's like stages of depression, but
Well,
it's
there's
stages of regret or something. God, I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot this.
there's the 5 stages of loss, which is
Seven stages of grief.
depression.
Aren't there seven stages of grief?
Yeah, no, what is it? It's
I
depression,
know. I can't think
anger,
of the word.
bargaining. Fuck. Depression, anger, acceptance. No, it's not acceptance at the fucking end. Depression, anger, bargaining. No, it's I got it. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I think that's the right one.
Oh yeah. Okay, but I don't know, like, because there's 12 songs in the album and there's six check marks. So each one of the songs deals
Yeah.
with a certain level of anger and like what loss would be like. And then they
Yeah.
end it with the title song, which the two songs before that are "Time of Dying" and "Gone Forever," which are basically about
Right.
ending it. Which is again, it's a dark
Yeah.
themed album. So, and then it ends with 1X,
Yeah.
which is the only song on there that is supposedly different from the themes of the rest. Like the rest all deal with like anger, loss, depression, suicidal thoughts, like stuff like that. And then it goes into 1X, which is the end. And the overall themes of that song when you're looking at the album cover, it's really well structured and well made.
Yeah.
To the point where like even if you don't like rock, I recommend listening to that just because like it is a little weird, some of the songs, but like even the themes and tones is such an enjoyable listen. and then transferring slowly over to another song because, like I said before, I really always liked Papa Roach. Like they've always been like top 3 bands ever, even when I wasn't listening to
Yeah.
rock. And they released an album, Crooked Teeth, this year, and it so encapsulates like what different versions of mental health and how people perceive mental health. That's what the entire album's about, which is why I actually recommend not starting the album at the beginning, but I recommend starting with Help, a song called Help, which is really like it's really adaptable to how a lot of people feel right now. It's basically about like everything's going wrong for you and you just need something to help you. Like you feel lost and you need help, which is what the song's about. And it's a really great song. Like it's really enjoyable listen. And then you go through the rest of the album and you realize that it's slowly different versions of mental health and how people feel about it. And it really explores that theme really well, which is why a lot of people love this album. And I think it's arguably my best album this year for rock.
Right.
So I just want to talk about like how you talking about the way you did about music affected me, and how like it made me look at things differently.
I'll change barriers. I should do that. Wait, give me like 2 seconds.
Yeah. And with that, we're gonna take a break. We'll get back to you really quick. We're gonna take a little break, and then we'll be with a word for our sponsors. We'll be right back. Peak.
Yo. Hello?
So, and we're back. I hope you enjoyed that word from the sponsors we don't have. Maybe someday. But I think we're gonna transition out of that because that got pretty. We got pretty into that. Like we're at an hour already, buddy. We're killing it. So what I wanted to do was transition to something a little dumber of something I did this week because, like I said earlier, I always end up watching a bunch of stuff, and I always have something in my ears. And so when I've been doing a lot of grinding in Destiny this week, and so I watched some Netflix movies that were oh god, the worst movies I've ever seen. They're both new releases on Netflix. What? No, I'd rather watch Star Wars than these again. I'm not kidding you. I'm not even kidding. I'd watch The Last Jedi on loop backwards in Spanish before I'd watch these again. So, okay. So
I don't think there's anything that bad.
So one of them is like the premise is these 3 nerdy fucking kids are like graduating or whatever, and so they're going camping and they're gonna drink for the first time. But they bring one dude's twin sister and her friend who used to bang another one of their friends. So with that brilliant setup, they have to bring the girls along. So they go camping, and the main character, who we find out has been in Germany, has always had a crush on the one dude's twin sister. And so it's like the main movie's about like this is his chance to get down and get his dick sucked, basically. That's how that works. And it's like this childish way of like explaining how sex works for teens. Right. So they go camping and they buy booze with this fake ID and they go drinking. And while they're drinking, one dude gets so drunk that he cuts his own dick off with a knife while he's pissing. I'm not lying at all. That's literally the premise. And so he cuts his dick off. And so they called, and so they figure that out. And so they leave. They get him air thrown out of there because they're camping in the woods. But they leave his penis, so they have to bring his penis back to him in time so he can get it back before it goes back. That's literally the premise of the movie.
What the fuck?
So they've got his
where
dick.
are you finding these things?
It's on Netflix. It was new, and I was like, this looks so stupid. Let's fucking watch it. And it was. So basically, they have his dick in a cooler, and they have to like figure out how to get out of the fucking mountains and get it to him, even though they don't know where they took him. And so they get all this stuff. Like, crazy shit fucking happens. Like, they lose it. They steal a boat from some dude, and like they drive away, and they bring another dude in the universe got his dick chopped off and was in a different hospital, and they took it to that hospital, so he got their friend's dick sewn onto another dude. And it gets chopped off again because it's fucking. And they have to bring it back to him, and he gets his penis back. It's the dumbest fucking movie ever. No, it's the second dumbest movie ever, because the next one that they released the next week is worse. So that's the premise of the first movie. So that's my level of stability. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this movie. And the second movie, it was actually pretty well advertised for Netflix. It's called Insatiable. It has Debbie Ryan in it, who was on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. She was kind of like the bae of Sweet Life and Zack and Cody on deck, which was a pretty peak show for me, kind of. And
What does that mean? What version of peak are you using here?
It was a good show for childhood. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody,
Right.
And then the continuation series wasn't that bad.
I would have understood that last sentence as it was a pretty shit show for me.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty good. So obviously I don't understand your culture or your words because I tried to use one. So with that message, I'm gonna go into what this movie's about. Okay. God, where to start on this movie? So this movie's called Insatiable. It's got Debbie Ryan in it. So basically, Debbie Ryan plays a fat girl. And she goes to this high school where apparently she's the only fat girl in the entire school. And everyone else is skinny and somewhat in some version of attractive. And so it's all about her. She gets picked on by this, like, it's this typical movie thing where, like, no high school in anywhere is this bad, is like to this level of bad, but it sets it up that way, so it's super negative and depressing. And so she basically tries to ask this dude out who was like relatively not shitty to her, and he rejects her because she's fat, because apparently that's how the world works in this movie. And so she sits outside this convenience store, and this drunk guy tries to rape her, so she gets punched in the face by him, and so she's on a liquid diet for 3 months because her jaw is sewn shut, and she gets thin.
Oh, fuck me.
So she wakes up thin and attractive, and it's so noticeable that no one knows who she is. No one recognizes her because she's thin now. So she gets
getting fed. Looking
a liquid diet, apparently, like good shit, because she couldn't eat. And so she was just sitting in the hospital, and she had like one unattractive friend, because that's how these things work. And so she gets out, and she's like hot or some shit, or what the movie wants to think. Well, Debbie Ryan, I don't want to say anything bad about her. She's passable looking, I guess. Kind of pretty in a way. I don't know. Whatever. But so yeah, so it's like established that she's like all hot now, and so her lawyer moonlights as a beauty pageant host, and one of the moms of the beauty pageant of the person she's beauty pageant accuses him of touching her and being a molester of children, even though because her daughter got second place. And so it's established that he's this super nice guy, and so he's always, and because he's the lawyer in the case of the homeless guy who punched her. So he's Debbie Ryan's lawyer, and so they like have a relationship, and apparently he's the only man who has ever been nice to her, so she gets a crush on him, even though he's like 40. And so, because he's the only guy who was ever nice to her, she gets this massive crush on him. And so, there, I want to tell you a line that is literally in the show. By the way, you should not be mad about me spoiling these for you, because they're horrendous. You should not watch them. I'm telling you
No,
about them.
I wasn't planning to. What the fuck did you think I am?
So, like, there's a line where she's sitting in bed with her friend and diddling his name in a notebook. Which, by the way, hey, girls out there, if we happen to get any female listeners here, will you tell me, have you ever doodled a guy's name in a notebook? Like, does any girl ever actually done that? I've never met a girl who would ever do something that dumb. Or, like, weird or silly to me. But anyway, so she's sitting with her friend, and the friend, because it's out there now that he touches teenage girls. And so her friend says he's a child molester. And Debbie Ryan's response is, so I might actually have a shot with him. But he's a child molester. That means I actually have a shot. I can't understand the look on my face when that happened. I can't explain that.
You seem to have a much more higher bullshit tolerance than I do, because I would have stopped watching much longer ago.
No, one of my things is I give everything a chance to a certain point. And so
yeah, exactly.
Like,
but that point is clearly much further for you than it is for me.
So I'm like, okay, what the fuck is this movie? Because it's already set such a high level of holy shit that I want to keep with it. So she becomes a beauty pageant. So she gets it in her head like she's gonna get revenge on everyone who was ever mean to her. Right. And so apparently her mom's like an addict of some kind. And so she goes to this meeting, and the homeless guy who punched her in the face is there at the meeting. So she gets with him, and while he's sleeping, she pours alcohol on him, and pulls a match over, like, so she wants to light him on fire while he sleeps. But then it pops into her head, no, I'm just gonna be hot and prove everyone wrong. And so she leaves with it. Oh my god, it's such a I actually kind of reckon watching that one because it's so nuts and stupid that it would be hilarious. It's one of those like Sharknado movies where like it's so bad it's good. And oh my god, I stopped watching like 20 minutes in because they started doing like she's pretty and all this like psychopath stuff. So I stopped watching.
I can do
the level of psychoticness that was actually put out. Like, that level, it was just... And I've never seen... Like, Netflix is normally pretty solid, but I don't know what the fuck happened. Like, what is this demographic that adults think people are gonna watch? I don't know. I thought it was funny. So I don't want to talk about it, because that's, like, all that happened to me this week, pretty much. That's pretty much it.
Interesting week.
That's all I fucking have. That and Attack on Titan slow right now, which sucks.
RIP. Peak, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
No. Yesterday, there was a new Netflix film that I watched. It's the After Pie. It's a film starring Mr. Kyle, no second name, rapper. Yeah.
Ooh,
so he is one of my favorite rappers when it comes to just relaxing and not really caring about lyrics too much. Most rap I listen to is naturally, heavily influenced by loads of messages,
about, everyone knows that now, bro.
Deep lyrics and such. And Kyle is just like a fun rapper. He just has good beats with just a fun attitude, and he just chill about it. So I like Kyle. He's just a difference from the norm. I like listening to him when I'm just being relaxed, not taking anything too seriously. So it's basically about his come up as a rapper. Apart from it's not him, he plays a fictional rapper, which he embodies. He's trying to make it in the music scene, and he's trying to get signed, basically. But in the process, basically, it's the start of the film. he he's at a party and he's like killing it. He's rapping, and then he's sick on Wiz Khalifa, like because he smoked too much of his weed, and so he's so he's sick all over Wiz Khalifa. And then it like goes viral on the internet because it's like set now in it, so it goes proper viral on like Worldstar and everything. And then so he decides, fuck it, I'm not gonna try and be a rapper. I'm gonna get to Marines. And then his best friend's like this nerdy white kid who who's like his manager basically, but he's also his like friend.
Oh
And
yeah.
he spends the whole movie trying to get him signed before like the end of the week where he leaves to join the Marines. It was a pretty good film. Like it wasn't like Oscar nominated, fucking amazing, but
Oh
it's just like Carl's music. It was just not really too deep. Just something fun to watch.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Not bad. Very very stark contrast
Yeah,
to the
I would.
level that I set.
Well,
So it's kind of
yeah, it was watchable.
so it's kind of like 8 Mile, basically, where like it's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
this
kinda like
like
8 Mile, yeah.
alternative version of
Yeah.
like what happened. Yeah. Okay. That's
But
not too
I
bad.
think 8 Mile's probably a cult classic. I wouldn't compare it to that just yet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Different. It's obviously different. I'm not saying it's a different context, obviously.
Yeah.
Like the message is the tone and message is completely different.
Yeah.
Like email was like semi-serious, and then
Yeah, this is
into
very
that.
jokey. It's just,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
banter. Just a banterous film.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, normally we talk about like funny current events or something now, which maybe we'll move more into later. Like I said, we're still trying to feel out like what we want this to be about, and like how we want to hold this.
It's kind of fuck all right now, too.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Does not
this,
happen.
this is early days. Like it can be anything.
We've got,
Like you never know
I
where
think
we're gonna end up.
the KSI Logan Paul fights happen just like now, right now. That's
Oh,
probably
is it actually happening right
the
now?
most talked about topic. I think it's right now, or like in like half an hour. No, it'll be
I mean,
now because
like
it's 7.
it's pretty like if you like use social media, probably know something about it. But like I don't know, I'm
That's
not
probably
too
like
interested.
the biggest news right now in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, as far as like goofy entertainment news, it's like kind of our sphere. Like I don't watch either of them. I'm not really. That's not really my entertainment where I go
I
for
like
it.
Case. Case is a funny guy.
But I don't know. I'm like, hey, if I want to watch two amateurs fight, I could turn on any free card ever. Is it pay per view?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
they
not
stepped up
free.
this time. Yeah, last time it was free. It's pay per view now.
Wow, that is a dick ass move. Wow. Hey, you want to pay?
No,
Like,
it's dying out.
you want to pay a shit ton of money to watch two people who've never fought before fight? Yeah, no.
Actually, KSI is the reigning champion.
Listen,
The YouTuber brawl.
I could talk about how awful that fight was because I actually enjoy I enjoy MMA way more. Like I'm definitely a big
Yeah.
MMA guy. Like I think I'd be called a relative hardcore fan of that. Like I always pay attention to the news, and that's a big part of my podcast regime is two MMA podcasts.
Yeah.
So, and then you get Rogan and Fighter and the Kid, which like touch on it every once in a while because they're in that world. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know, and it's like I could go into how bad that boxing fight is, but fucking I don't know. I suppose we could keep with the fight thing. Where like I don't. You're not into like fighting really at all, are you?
No,
far
not
as I
really.
know. No,
Not too
yeah.
much.
Well, basically, right now, as far as boxing goes, we'll stick with boxing right now because we got. I mean, like, no need to talk about Conor Khabib right now. I don't know, but like as far as like boxing wise, right now we have an America versus like UK matchup going, kind of in the mix right now. We're in heavyweight
Yeah.
in the heavyweight thing for a heavyweight fight. Like the three biggest names right now are Anthony Joshua, who is a British guy. He's the current
He's the boy.
champion. He's the
He's
boy
my
right
boy.
now. He's the man.
He's the real guy, man. I love that guy. He's a funny guy. He's a geezer.
Yeah. And then we got Deontay Wilder,
Everyone knows Anthony Joshua.
who's from Southern Alabama, played football at Alabama. Which, if you know anything about college football, that's
You
no
mean
fucking
American football?
yeah, dude. Come on. Listen, we don't need to make that distinction, okay? Everyone knows that if I'm gonna say something, it's not gonna be
No.
fucking soccer,
No.
heavyweight
It's not
champion
soccer, it's
boxer.
football.
Heavyweight champion boxer played football at Alabama. Yeah, he played football at Alabama. By the way, that's no joke.
He played American football in Alabama. That's what he did.
Like Alabama, basically, in break it down roughly for college football, Alabama is what's the best team for like Premier League? Like what's or soccer, football, or EU football? Like what's the team?
British Premier League. Right now, I think Manchester City won.
Like what's the team? No, what's the team that's like always been that staple? Like they're always going to be good. People are always going to love them.
Manchester United is probably the most famous team.
Yeah, like so basically Alabama football is like the Manchester United. They win all the fucking time. They're always going to be great. Best people are always going to want to go there because that's who they are and that's what they do, basically. Like Alabama does not fuck around when it comes to football. And so he played there, which is no joke, and then decided, fuck it, let's box. I think he got hurt. Cause he's like 6'9", he's a big boy. He's like 6'9", Shred City, jacked, and he's 39-0 and with 38 knockouts. And one dude quit. So he's this brawler super fighter who's been, and him and Anthony Joshua were going back and forth quite a bit. Like they were supposed to fight, and then something happened with Anthony Joshua's team or whatever, and they don't want to do it right now because they're pussies. But anyway,
I think Joshua fucked him up.
Yeah, they probably have a reason, but they're not scared or anything. That's a dumb thing to say, but I don't know. For whatever reason, it didn't go through. Deontay Wilder was bummed about that, but yeah, he's fighting. So now in talks, they're fighting Tyson Fury, who Tyson Fury was kind of a Kanye situation. He was basically the Kanye of boxing, pretty much. So like he's this big white, goofy guy, and he kind of went through some shit. Like he had to relinquish his belt because he was unfit to fight because of mental stuff. He was like 400 pounds at one point. He was just this really out of shape, having a really hard time, had to do some mental stuff, and so he had to lost it. But he's kind of come back into the limelight as recently because he's kind of gone through some shit. So now it's like, and it's like him, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder are the 3 biggest names in boxing right now, as far as heavyweights.
I like Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a goofball. I actually really like him. He's so funny and just genuine. I actually really like him. But like Deontay Wilder's my fucking boy because it's been a long time for America. Because America used to run shit, and now it's been a little bit. So yeah, that's shaping up right now, and I don't know, that'd be really cool to follow, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually, since talking about American sports, I find football really boring. I can't watch it, save my life. If there's one traditionally American sport that I kind of follow, it's probably basketball. I think it's more entertaining. I like watching the NBA sometimes.
Okay. I don't know.
It depends. Football terms.
It really depends, because like I don't know. Like, do you like watching like English football or football? That's how people distinguish it here. If you don't want to say soccer, you say football.
I watch it sometimes, but not very often. Though I don't really care that much about sports.
That's something I can't get into either. It's like, for whatever reason, like that just does not click on me.
Like, it's alright. It's just I don't really like watching the sports that much on TV. I'm just not really that bothered.
I'm not a massive guy. I'm from Nebraska, and Nebraska does not fuck around with college football. Like, we've won national championship like 5 times, and it's kind of been like this in thing. But like literally, that's all we fucking have is college ball. So like. And we've sold out our stadium like 370 times in a row without like not selling out, which is fucking nuts. Like we hold the record by like 200 or like no, like 100 or something. But yeah, so like Nebraska football is no fucking joke, and it's so I'm always super into it. It's always been a part of like culture. Like grandparents come over, cook, watch game, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then football in general has always been a big thing in America because that's like our sport. I don't know. I definitely think I'm more fighting over any other sport, but like I like fight sports. Like I like boxing and MMA and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But yeah, That's really like all that's going on. Really, there's not a lot else. Like we could go into gaming and talk about Battlefield 5 because that's a fucking that's kind of a topic. You feel like you're
Mm.
down? We've done. I mean, we've done
Well,
like an hour 20 or so, so we could do a little bit more.
it's just current events, and I might as well. Fucking Battlefield 5. Let's be honest, it's really the
It's
problem of EA.
it's not looking good.
It's the EA conundrum because of their major fuck up last year with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars
Which that,
just it's a curse really right now. It's like can't get anything right, can it?
yeah.
Fucking two shit films in a row and a game with like the worst reception of any game. Like not because of violence. Like that when you come to you hear about bad receptions of video games like general news, it's usually because of like violence or something. But it was just because it was so badly published. It's like the first game in like memory to do that.
It became the
It was
martyr
atrocious.
for what's wrong with gaming right now. Even though it's not the worst, COD.
Well,
I would argue that COD is significantly more evil and worse when it comes to that stuff. And other
I
EA games too,
disagree.
like sports games are the
Just
worst
because
of
of
any of it. Sports games are built around
yeah,
scamming
that
children.
is true.
That's what they are designed around.
EA, it's just. I think EA is worse about it than Activision. To be honest, I think Activision
Oh yeah, they're
definitely do it a
overall.
lot as
When you
well.
look at their resume, they're worse. But I don't know. I think
Yeah,
Activision.
because they produce like 7 sports games a year and like
They're all
Battlefield and stuff.
yeah. And then when it comes to that and how they're marketed, yeah.
But no, I think Call of Duty is actually not too bad for it. Like as a whole, like actually it's like really bad. Like if you look at it on its own, but compared to EA, it's not that bad. Because the problem with Battlefront 2 wasn't the fact that it had microtransactions. The problem was the fact that the microtransaction was so integral to the game itself.
It was your progression
Like,
system.
yeah,
Like that's how
you
that
can
was
play
your
Call
thing.
of Duty and you can play Destiny without buying any microtransactions quite easily. Like the only thing you miss out on Call of Duty, you miss out on guns. Yeah, sure, that's really shit and it shouldn't be like that. But you can still play the game relatively scot-free. And with Destiny, it's just cosmetic mostly. But when you're playing Battlefront 2, it's just ridiculous. Like, not now, obviously, they fixed it now, kind of.
Yeah,
But,
they kind of did. I don't know. I wonder
but
if it's good
back
now.
then, it's literally directly tied.
Although it's EA, so I
Apparently,
doubt it.
it's better in the microtransaction section, but there's still quite a limited amount of content. And
Yeah, I
there's
remember seeing
patches
something
that
about that.
there were like there was a patch that was supposed to come out with like the Star Wars Clone Wars characters, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and General Grievous Anakin. And that was supposed to drop in December, I think, and it's still not dropped. It's not supposed to drop in September. And it was supposed to drop in December last year.
Oh damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just like I don't know. I was wondering how that game did.
Yeah, it's probably because like all their resources went from designing and making the content to trying to fix the fucking progression system.
Yeah, they had to restructure the whole game basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Not even basically, they literally did. Like it's just all from scratch.
don't be greedy. Yeah, that's what happens, I guess.
Yeah. It was not a pretty sight.
And yeah, now you got Battlefield 5, which is kind of a lot of issues to be fair. Like there's a few things about that game.
I've never been a fan of Battlefield, to be honest. I don't
I like
like the
Battlefield.
gameplay too much.
I got into Battlefield 4 because of Lunica. Like that was Lunica's shit, so we ended up playing it, and it was always a fun time.
I find it pretty boring, to be honest. I don't enjoy the gameplay of it. It has too slow of a time to kill for my liking, and it's also just kind of the maps are too expansive, and you don't get into gunfights very often.
Okay.
But I think the main problem with Battlefield 5 was the fact that just how hard it tried to be PC with like the woman on the cover and stuff, and it kind of backfired just because it started this whole argument because it's supposed to be a World War II game, and there was a debate about whether women, because women didn't serve regularly in World War II.
No, except for like there was like some Russian female snipers. That was really it. They weren't fighting.
Yeah, they were
every
mental.
part of the
That's
war.
insane. That's so cool.
Yeah,
You know why?
that's just not true. And the developers told you it was. They said their literal quote was, "Open a book. You're not smart enough if you don't understand why they're in this game. Don't buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it." And that has been such a thing now.
Someone responded saying that he wants his daughter to like be able to relate to the game or something.
Yeah, which is
And
not.
it's just ridiculous.
And they
But
said
no,
it was
that Russian.
and their marketing, part of their
Yeah.
marketing, original marketing, was that it's the most like realistic World War
Yeah.
II shooter ever, and it's like,
But no, that Russian thing's really cool because the reason why they used female snipers is because they thought they were like more calm and can be more precise. That's why they used female snipers. It's really
also
dope.
they were running out of men because they were all dying,
Yeah.
and it was more
Russia
like
always
a
takes the brunt of everything.
like it wasn't a planned like sign up, do your training bullshit thing. Like probably just picked up a gun and went because that was a bad time for Russia. Like that was
Yeah,
fucking
they had one.
dark.
They had one gun per 3 people
Yeah,
in
yeah,
World War One.
yeah. Like it got like Russia has always kind of got fucked when it came to like
They
wars and how
always
they
get fucked because they're obviously the biggest country and
They got a lot of
they
fucking people.
partake with like half of the whole body count in World War II was Russians.
Yeah. So you end up with like that sort of situation. So it's just a really weird thing. And then you have EA, and it's just EA is such an evil term now. Like it doesn't even like you have,
EA, well, you have EA winning like the worst company in America 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you have companies that literally exploit human beings in in places.
children.
Shows just how deep it is. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like that mixed with the marketing has been dog shit. Like I saw like one trailer and that's it. I can't like Battlefield 1's marketing was really good. Like they had Seven Nation Army and they had that theme going constantly and there was constant trailers and stuff like that. But their marketing campaign fucking sucks. Like there's nothing about it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're going deep dive on stuff. So
I can't say I've been like following along, but I know.
I mean, like I pay attention to gaming news and stuff just because, like, I believe like if I'm gonna be a streamer and I'm gonna be streaming, like I should be up to date on what I'm in because I'm in the gaming space. So I think like most people should be up to date with what's going on, so you can talk about it if it comes up. And it's like I pay attention to gaming news too because I like it. And so like there's not been a lot of like it comes out in a month like Call of Duty's been hitting so hard. It comes out in October, so basically like a month and a half or so.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, it comes out like same time as COD, which again it's competing with COD, which is where
I can't wait till COD.
Big news. You know about the figure, right? Oh
yeah,
God,
it's 85%.
Yeah, 85% tracking below right now, which hasn't really been debunked or whatever. Like it hasn't really been
sure it was confirmed.
denied. Like there's no real evidence that it's not.
I'm pretty sure it was confirmed that's true.
Yeah.
Because it was about a week ago.
Which again, that number is kind of different too, because you got to think about COD and like what COD is. Like Call of Duty is Call of Duty, and it's a Treyarch Call of Duty. Like you are a prime example of that.
Best.
That Treyarch Call of Duties are immediately earned respect, no matter what their track record or showing is going to be.
Because Treyarch is the most respectable company. That's it. They're the only ones that produce. They're the only ones that have ever produced. Every game they've ever produced has been good, including Black Ops 3, which was the only Call of Duty with advanced movement that was the only Call of Duty with advanced movement that was received well.
I mean, it's the most played Black Ops game ever. Which I mean, I tried the beta for Black Ops 4. I don't like the multiplayer for Black Ops. It's just doesn't flow for me.
No, I loved it. The Black Ops 4 multiplayer, it doesn't even. It's not even Call of Duty. It's something completely different. It feels so different.
Like that sense in that way guns fight. It's not for me.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I've thrilled it. I'm excited for it. But I'll still mostly play zombies. I'm sure of that.
Oh yeah. Quite a lot of zombies. I don't know. So I won't be joining you there, but yeah. So I don't know. It's just a really big thing in gaming news. That figure, like 85% below COD, and that's its main competitor. Yeah. It's kind of a big deal.
I'm not sure how would that compare to its previous years. I'm actually not sure.
I mean, it's always kind of been back and forth. Like Battlefield's never been a failure. It's always been a big franchise.
When did Battlefield 1 come out?
Last year.
Well, Battlefield was first, wasn't it?
Was it last year or 2 years ago? I think it might have been 2 years ago.
No,
No, it was last year.
I was
Wait, no,
I was
it
there
wasn't.
on
It was 2
launch
years. It was
with
2
you,
years.
so it was last year.
No, it
Was
was
it?
2 years because it was
Must
with
have been last year.
It was with Infinite Warfare. Because it was like the contrast to Infinite Warfare.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, yeah, it definitely was up then because Infinite Warfare was like the worst received Call of Duty.
Yeah. Most disliked video in YouTube history.
Fucking hate that game with a passion. Just so bad.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it, but I've played it once twice.
I don't know. Heard the campaign was good, but who literally gives
I heard the campaign was okay also, but you know, it wasn't no Black Ops 1 campaign or Modern Warfare 2.
But yeah. I don't know. It's really weird. That's like all gaming really has right now, and then there's Forsaken shit, which is obviously. I suppose if you are a Destiny player, Gambit is playable on the 1st, which is
Tuesday.
3 days before for everybody. So you don't have to have it pre-ordered. You don't have to do none of that bullshit. You get to just play it and try out the brand new, like, which I mean, as far as Gambit go, oh shit, hang on, damn it. Sorry, I was about to hit a quad feed. I fucked it up. I had 4. Anyway, going back to podcasting, which we're supposed to be doing right now, but I can't stop playing Crucible. Is Gambit is
I've been playing Destiny the whole time.
It's a new game mode for Destiny, and I mean, like, watching Gambit, watching how people talk about Gambit, watching it being played at Guardian Con while I was there was.
I still think you should have played it, to be honest. I couldn't stop myself playing if I was there.
Dude, the line was 7 hours.
Minor. I thought you ran out of things to do.
Yeah, but like I didn't want to sit in a line. I didn't want to sit for 5 hours doing nothing. I'd rather be in the hotel room. Which people brave that fucking line. There's no way the wait wasn't maxing out at like 9 hours. Like, there's no way when the VIP doors open that wait time wasn't in.
Yeah, but you're the first, isn't it? You're number 1. If you've played Gambit before anyone else.
Yeah, I mean E3 got. Did E3? Yeah, E3 got to play it. I think before us because I think E3.
Gamescom's playing it right now. I'm sure.
Yeah, Gamescom's playing it right now. I mean, they got more people through the Gambit line at Guardian Con than they did at E3, so that says something. But yeah, I don't know. It was like sitting in a line with Mosley for 5 hours would have been like for anybody. It would have been a pain in the ass for me because like that's just my ADHD would have drove me fucking insane. And it's just to play like 20 minutes of Gambit, so like you can kind of.
Was it just one game?
Without it. I mean, it's 3 rounds of Gambit is how it works, but that's like one match. Is the 3 best out of 3. So it was kind of like I didn't see it as worth it as much. I wanted to play it, but we didn't get there early enough because somebody didn't wake us up and wanted to eat breakfast for some reason. Whatever, not important.
No comment.
But yeah, I mean, God, what are we at? We're like 130, like almost 140, bro.
Nice.
That's a motherfucking pod. That's a motherfucking episode in the books. Where you at? Where are you at? Demicast. First podcast ever. But yeah, man, you want to talk about maybe what you're planning on this week? And you got anything going on?
What I'm playing this week? I'm planning on playing Destiny 2 and starting my history coursework where I have to read books. I haven't done in many years, and I have to read a lot of books in a week and a half.
Damn.
And I left it too late, but usually I would have left it till the day before, so this is like sort of an improvement.
Okay. Got anything you're trying to accomplish gaming-wise? Anything you want to try and play?
Accomplish and finishing my fucking Solstice armor for my Titan now. I'm getting through it relatively quickly, not gonna lie. I'm on my blue tier now, I started this morning, so we're getting there.
You're good?
But I'm not excited to do the missions for the 7th time in my life.
Oh yeah, thanks for telling me about that gall cheese. I got it done last night. Thanks for the advice, buddy.
No worries, I got you.
Yeah. But Yeah, I suppose I gotta do like one mission to get my thing to. I don't think I'll probably master. I won't masterwork my shit. Like this set is. I don't really like how it looks.
You can masterwork it after Solstice is done.
Oh yeah, really? Okay, so you just gotta get to legendary.
Yeah.
That's dope. It's like even if I wanted to do it, which I don't even like the look of it, so. Like
I think it's Warlock. The Hunter one looks dope. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah. Hunter one looks pretty. I think the Hunter one probably looks the best. I mean, Titan's workable, but it's just like that color scheme mixed with like what the chroma looks like. I'm just not down for it. So I am gonna be doing. Fuck me, no! I gotta do Regix today. No! Oh my god, I have to play competitive Destiny. Oh my fucking god. Oh.
Yeah, if you couldn't do Masterwork after Solstice is done, I would be doing that right now. But because you can't, I'm doing my time.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because fuck my Warlock. My Warlock doesn't deserve Solstice armor. And also, I'm not doing 3 sets of Solstice armor in 6 days.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked, to be honest. That's a grind. But,
literally,
yeah.
no one has an excuse not to do Solstice armor or to get at least fucking the Sparrow in the thing. Because I've not played Destiny for 6 months and I've played it for like 4 days and I've got it.
But yeah. So I suppose after this I gotta go play fucking Destiny comp, which is
nice.
Interesting. I just wanna like my goal is to get to like 12 to 1500. If I can do better, obviously that's great. Just so I have less of a grind next
So how
week.
much do you need to get to?
2100, I think. I think it's 2100.
Oh shit.
So yeah, I'm at like 9 something right now. So I'm at a good spot actually compared to most people. Most people are like just starting.
Start?
0.
Where'd you start? Oh shit, right.
Everyone starts at 0. And it's like a rank. It's a progressive rank. As you play, you get more points. So
yeah, I get it. I just thought maybe they start you off somewhere.
No, everyone starts at 0. So like you see a lot. I went on. Oh, we ought to talk really. Do a quick one. I went on Destiny. I went on Destiny Crucible Forum last night because I haven't done it in a long time. Holy shit! Is that a negative place?
Yeah, man.
Like everything, it's the same as it's always been. It was all about matchmaking, lag, and comp. That's what it was about.
To be fair, lag is really bad. Lag is a bitch in Destiny. It always has been.
I don't have a problem with it now that I have really good Wi-Fi. But like it's weird. Quick play has no matchmaking at all right now, and so that's what it was about because it was about how shitty it was.
What the fuck does that mean?
You don't know about that?
There's no matchmaking right now.
There's no matchmaking.
What do you mean?
It's not connection based. It's not skill based. They fucked something up.
Well, there is. You rephrase that because you can't say there's no matchmaking.
There's no.
That would imply there's no servers. There's no skill based or connection based matchmaking.
There's no priority based matchmaking.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not matching people based on connection. It's not matching people based on skill, which it was doing. It was skill-based matchmaking to the fucking nines.
Skill-based matchmaking is like the cancer of the universe, though. So.
Oh yeah, dude. The amount of people that think skill-based matchmaking is the answer because they suck at the video game, and they're getting dicked on.
It's literally the poor man's dream. Skill-based matchmaking.
It's skill-based matchmaking is the socialism of video games.
Boy, don't get into this.
That's factual information. The fundamental ideas are the exact same.
Incorrect. No, it's not.
You mean I need to be in everyone I go up against needs to be in my own lane, and I need to have an ability to be successful. I don't want to be against people who are better off than me. That's not the idea of socialism. I misunderstand socialism.
The idea of skill-based matchmaking is to get everyone down to a 1 KD. It's not to make everyone the same. Yeah, but it's about making sure
it's about making sure you get equal parts skill on everybody, and everybody is the same level as you are. Is that not socialism?
No, it's not, because it's not trying to get everyone to say. It's not handicapping those who are better off and helping those who are worse off.
But it is.
No, it's not.
That's the fundamental idea. Is because people in high skill tiers have to sweat their fucking balls off every round because of how good they are at it. and it's not fun.
Excuse me,
because
this
it's
is
the same
bullshit.
every time.
So wait, excuse me. The fucking the Ruckus Khan boss on the strikes, right? You can damage him before he goes up his elevator, but he just regens all the health when he's up the stairs. What the fuck? I call bullshit.
What?
You know the Cabal boss, right?
Yeah, what does that have to do with
strike.
anything? Where is that
I'm
coming
playing
from?
the strike.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. I thought you were using that as
doing
like
the
an
strike.
example
No,
of what we're talking about.
it just happened. It just happened to me. Like we did like 3/4 of his health, and then we went up the elevator and he had full health. I'm like, what is this
Damn.
bullshit?
Oh my god, I thought you were using that as like an example of why his skill-based matchmaking. Why skill-based matchmaking is good for good people. I don't know. I was super conflicted there. Okay, we need to stop because if we start doing skill-based matchmaking, it's gonna be a 2.5 hour podcast. And I think for our first one, we're really good at our timetable right now.
I think that's a good call.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save that conversation for when it matters.
Save it for the podcast,
buddy.
man.
Okay, buddy. Alright, well, I suppose I should probably talk about where we're going to find podcasts. Okay, so you can find anything about this podcast or where you can listen to it. It should be available everywhere you can find podcasts. Should be on YouTube. I'll probably put it in my past broadcasts if I can. It's going to be on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then I think Stitcher? I don't know. I think Stitcher's for Android. But I think it should be available pretty much everywhere if you like the podcast. So if you want to subscribe there, that's obviously great. That way you won't miss it and it'll be easy to find. We'll have this up on the Save It for the Podcast YouTube, which we're going to figure out. If you made it to here and you made it through, I love you. You need to know that because this is our first one, so we're giving it a first go.
I love you too. Don't worry, I got you.
Still trying to work stuff out. So, yeah, you can find us everywhere. You can find all the social medias. They'll be linked in pretty much every description of what you're watching right now. So if you want to go follow those, easy to keep up with us and how we're going to be doing stuff. So, yeah, should be pretty much it, bro. You got anything else you want to say before we end?
Stay awesome, motherfuckers, and save that shit for the podcast, man.
Hey, yeah, remember if you get anything interesting at all, you anything you want to talk about, save it for the podcast. Bye, guys.
Save it for the podcast.